Hey team, how's it going? So it's Thursday, and Thursday is the day that we're going to smash it. We're going to improve ourselves in some way today so that we can move ourselves towards our end goal, fulfillment of our true potential. And that's what we're going to do. Every single day we're going to build towards that goal, whether it's with our health and fitness, whether it's with our spirituality, whether it's with our money and finance, whether it's with our love and relationships, or whether it's with our career and life purpose. We're going to keep building each of these elements holistically, bespokely, in an overall approach, so that when we get to the end, we're going to be able to realise that we've fulfilled our potential. And you're going to have done it yourself. Yeah, I'm here as your guide, but at the end of the day, I'm only inspiring you to do it. You're going to be doing this in your own brain, making yourself stronger, wiser, smarter, so that you can put into plan what you actually want to do and create the life that you want to lead. And I know that you're really starting to respond to everything that we're doing. We're getting an amazing amount of views on the videos. We're getting loads and loads of you joining in the social media chat. Everything's just growing about this community. Every day we're getting someone else new coming in and saying, and this is all genuine people. It's not like getting Instagram likes for a funny picture. This is real people engaging with real content, wanting to be part of a real community. And you are part of that. I want you to just keep growing it with me, because at the end of the day, the message that we've got here is resonating with so many people, and there's going to be more and more people out there that want to hear it, that want to join in the community. And the thing is, this isn't about me being selfish, this is about me sharing what you're doing. So if you've got anything great going on where you are, let me know about it and I'll share it to the community so that they can engage with you as well. This is what it's all about when it comes to community. We can share. We don't have to be worried that we're missing out on something. We're just giving because giving is good, and that's what we want to do. The abundance will come to us anyway because we're on the right path. But that's not to say that we can't share. This is gone are the times where you had to sort of keep everything to yourself and, keep everyone away. Don't need to worry about that now. Just share. Open yourselves up. Be loving, be considerate, be compassionate with everything that you do, especially business. And you'll find that everything that you want will still come to you anyway. Probably a bit easier. So when I'm delivering these lessons and also, talking to you online, a lot of the knowledge that I've got comes from experience, both good and bad. But I have to build upon that every day. So that's my foundation. But I can't take for granted those things that are going to see me through, because there might be issues that you come to me with that I've not experienced myself. So I need to know about them so I can best inform you of what to do. And the way that I do that is by reading. I don't have a TV that I watch in my house. I tend to read, or I'll be online, talking to you guys. And so that's fine by me. I prefer that anyway. I don't want to get suckered into just watching the soaps every night. So I tend to read, and these are just a collection of the books that I've read since Christmas. So in the last 8 weeks I've read, about 12 books, and that's not including my guilty pleasures as well, because one thing that I found is it's all well and good reading these really heavy, thick tomes, but you don't want to be reading that before bed, because if you do that, your brain's going to be whizzing constant, and then you're not going to go to sleep. And we need our sleep, don't we? Because otherwise we're not going to be able to get up the next day and smash it again. And so what I do, I tend to read my guilty pleasure books, such as Flashman, or maybe an Andy McNab novel. They're the type of things that I like reading. You might like reading romantic novels, or you might like reading thrillers or spy stories, or whatever it is. Just something that you can read, and it's not going to make your brain start sparking. It's just something to lower you back down before you go into that sleep state, so you can make sure that you try and get your 8 hours as you're supposed to get. I personally get about 6, but it works for me. But ultimately, you'll know how much sleep you need. And reading a nice novel before bed is a good way of getting yourself into that sleep zone, because it's engaging with your right brain, your imaginative side, and that's where your dreams are obviously coming from. So if you can do that rather than just being focused on your left brain, thinking about one of these more analytical books, then it's going to help you to get to sleep. So, Flashman, you might have heard about this. It's essentially historical novels, a series of them that were written by an English author called George MacDonald Fraser. He was a journalist. He wrote an accurate historical book. However, it didn't sell at all. So he decided that he needed to do something a bit more funny so that he could start making sales. And that's where this character Flashman came from. Now, you would have seen the film Forrest Gump. And so, do you remember the cutout bits where it was like Forrest Gump was meeting President Nixon and, you know, meeting all these famous people throughout history? Well, that's essentially what Flashman does. So they take a real historical situation. In this case, it was the first Anglo-Afghan war in the 1800s. And then they plant him into the middle of it. So all of the key characters who are real, he's basically engaging with them and he's running around. Now, this guy, he's a bit of a cad. He's a bit sort of Teflon. Nothing sticks to him. He gets away with murder, literally. And so he's basically running around Afghanistan as this cavalry officer, you know, dashing man, but he's basically just cheating and lying and stealing his way around it. And like I say, he always comes out smelling of roses. He never seems to get caught. It's a really funny book, and you know, basically after he finishes in Afghanistan, there's other stories where he's going all around the world, just getting involved in all of these real historical incidents. So I like that. You can find it on Amazon. Right, so that's the guilty pleasures out of the way. Now, I thought it'd be worth talking to you about leadership books. Now, previously I've said to you, if you are a leader in a commercial setting, then why not think about looking at leaders from a sports or a military background so that you can learn from them? And so what I've done is I've brought 3 books here just for you to very briefly look at. The first one is Leading by Alex Ferguson. So Alex Ferguson was the Manchester United manager, the longest reigning manager, and he won 49 trophies for the club. Clearly he's got a massive wealth of experience over 38 years of management. And so what he's done is he's encapsulated all of this into the book with Michael Moritz, who's an investor. So he wanted to look at, you know, from an analytical standpoint, what Alex Ferguson was doing that was making him so successful so consistently, and try and apply those same lessons to business. Because, you know, do any businesses, say apart from maybe Apple, stay on top of the game for that long a time? No, but clearly Alex Ferguson did. So what they've done is they've looked at how he's managed to build teams repeatedly, make them win the top trophies consistently, how he's dealt with prima donnas, how he's dealt with defeat, how he's brought them back from the brink, and how he's basically assessed the analytics of the game so that he can improve his management style. Now, a lot of people will say that Alex Ferguson is a dinosaur in his management style, and everything's a lot more softly approaches nowadays. But you know what? It worked for him clearly. So there's certainly a lot to be learned from that book. So again, check it out on Amazon, and you can buy that copy quite cheaply. Next one, Uncle Bill, and this one's the authorised biography of Field Marshal Viscount Slim. Now he's been voted as Britain's top general, along with the Duke of Wellington. Now, not a lot of people have heard of Bill Slim apart from people that were in the military circles, but the lessons that he delivers in this book, both from the way that he moved from being a middle working banker in Birmingham all the way up to leading an army in India and defeating the Japanese invasion within Burma. It just shows the competence of this guy. He wrote a book originally called Defeating to Victory, and that's essentially what he did. So during the Second World War, the British Army had been pushed out of Burma by the Japanese, and they'd managed, well, basically they were all just sort of falling apart in this just crazed route back to towards the Indian border. So Bill Slim, he was a veteran of the First World War. He'd been wounded twice, and he'd been awarded the Military Cross in 1918. He was parachuted in and basically took control of this defeated fleeing army, and then basically turned it into a controlled withdrawal back to India. He then rebuilt the army back in India, and a couple of years later launched back in and defeated the so far undefeated Japanese army, and it basically made the world realise that the Japanese could be defeated. And so he'd done that with his own tactics, his own knowledge of the Indian army, of the jungles, and just his inspiring leadership. So again, some amazing learning opportunities within this book. And then the other one, I know it's again another military book, but this is a recent TV series that's been out in the UK. And it's got 4 guys that have all been Special Forces operators. And then they want to take civilians and put them through the training processes that they go through themselves, whether into the SAS or the SBS. And so what they've then done is condensed into this book a lot of leadership tips which can then be applied into a business environment or a sports environment, whatever it may be. Now recently I've written a blog on how the 7 questions planning tool, which is the military's planning tool, can actually be applied to anything from planning a wedding to setting up a business. And the point of this is the fact that a lot of the things that we learn in the military can be applied into the commercial setting very easily. I mean, you've only got to look at the similarities between military doctrine and the syllabus of an MBA, and you just realise that everything's exactly the same, just with different words. So these guys are at the top of the game. The SAS and the SBS and any other special forces pride themselves on that absolute excellence, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. And so what they're talking about is born out of experience. It's born out of absolute hardship that they've faced, and tough decisions that they've had to make. So again, well worth reading. So there's 3 leadership books there, which if you've not looked at them, give them a chance, because this is all about being as open-minded as possible so that you can too expand your awareness and knowledge, and apply some of the lessons from these books into your own day-to-day activities. So that's leadership. Now I'm just going to very briefly touch onto spirituality. And like I say, these are just books that I've picked up on the way out this morning. This one, a bit controversial. It's a David Icke book. He's a well-known conspiracy theorist, and this is his 2016 book, Phantom Self. Now, I've included this not so much because of the conspiracies that he talks about, because if you want to focus on conspiracy theories, there's a lot of other websites out there, including David's own, where you can get your fix of that sort of stuff. We don't want to focus on that because there's other people doing it out there more thoroughly than us. But the reason why I wanted to include this again is thinking outside the box. So you may be quite closed-minded at the moment, and a lot of people are, because you're taught things through society or through your parents or social norms, and they are just accepted truths. And so when someone like David comes along and tries to give you a completely different version of reality, a lot of people just dismiss it, and so the media does, I don't know if it's doing a good job, but it certainly does an attempt at trying to discredit him at every opportunity. But the guy's got a massive following. He does sell-out tours around the world. He's probably written about 20 books, all of which he's just consistently selling and republishing. So he's obviously connecting with a lot of people. And so for that fact alone, it's worth looking at what he's actually writing or talking about. And don't get me wrong, you might read through it and then dismiss it, but what we want to do is not dismiss things until we've actually looked at them ourselves. We want to have our own opinions. Don't take someone else's as your own, because it's a bit lazy really just to say, oh yeah, he's a nutter him, thought he was Jesus, everything that he's talking about is going to be complete crap. It's not the case. A lot of stuff that he's talked about in the past has now become true. He's basically just coming at it from a different perspective, saying that the way that the society is progressing nowadays is actually part of this sort of secret, shadowy plan. Now, I'm not suggesting that either it's true or it's false or that there's anything that we can do about it, but it's worth being aware about it, you know what I mean? And ultimately his message in it is that we just all need to love each other, so that actually connects with what we're talking about, how we need to, as a race, humanity, look after each other, help each other, and we can all sort of prosper, rather than there being elites and groups that are benefiting more than others. So again, even if you don't want to check that out, just think a little bit more widely when you're trying to engage with your own spiritual beliefs and spiritual learning. So that's that. Moving on to health and fitness. Now, one of the books that I've recently been reading is the WOD Bible. WOD stands for Workout of the Day. It's a CrossFit term. If you don't know what CrossFit is, we can either talk about that separately or you can Google it. Essentially, it's just a different training system when you're moving through health and fitness. So there's this WOD Bible, and it's a great little tool that I have in the gym. I'll open it up and say, okay, this is the WOD that I'm going to do today. So the one that I've done this morning consisted of 50 kettlebell swings, followed by, I think it was 25 snatches with a kettlebell, and then followed by 50 press-ups. So you do that twice through, and it absolutely destroys you. But it's pretty quick. So if you've not got a whole bunch of time when you're trying to keep your fitness going, look at stuff like that where you can work out a large proportion of your body really quickly, get that box ticked, and then you can move on with your day. I've been looking at it a little bit more in depth though. So I've just completed a personal training course, and so this is the textbook for that course. It's really great because I do train a lot, so what I've been able to do now is understand exactly what it is that I've been doing for all those years, and realise why it is. Because previously it might have been that, say, your brother took you to the gym for the first time and said, oh yeah, you need to do some of these things, and you never question why, you just do them. Or yeah, we need to all work chest, and you never understand why. But when you actually go through the course, you understand the body mechanics, the way that you've got levers and joints, and how the different muscles make different parts of your body move. So you're really starting to go into it a little bit more scientifically. And ultimately, if you're spending an hour a day doing something, you probably want to know why you're doing it, which is why I did the course, and also so that I can talk to you guys about it a bit more thoroughly and with a bit more authority. And I'm not suggesting that you all want to go on a personal trainer course, it's just that I had the opportunity to do so, so I did it. But ultimately, there's a whole bunch of books on fitness and health. You don't actually have to do these courses, but you can read about it if you've got time. But I would suggest that you should, because otherwise you're probably going to be doing things slightly wrong. And that's not anyone's fault, it's just that it's a lack of education. And it was certainly the case for me. I've been going to the gym for 20 years. And it's only now that I've done this course like 2 months ago that I actually realised why I was doing half the stuff I was doing. And so it just allows you to refine your activity. It makes you more effective, makes you get the optimum performance out of your workout, and so therefore you are working more efficiently and you're going to get better improvements. So it makes sense, really. So that's health and fitness. Relationships and love. Now this is a real cool book for me. I couldn't actually find any books on love relationships or romance relationships that I've ever really read. I think my experience has basically just been my knowledge base for that. Maybe I should read some, maybe that's why I wouldn't have 2 divorces, I don't know. This book though, on the other hand, is a great book, and it looks like it's quite old, but it's about doing cool stuff with your kids. Now, even just from the front cover, you can think that it's written in the 1950s. It's actually a recent book, 2006, but The Dangerous Book for Boys, and it certainly can be applicable to girls, men, women, everything. It's just so fun. It's reminiscent of like 1950s happy summers spent, searching for tadpoles or whatever it is. And it certainly is quite a good remedy, as people are so concerned about their children being stuck to the computers, being stuck on social media. So have a look at this book, it's incredible, and I'm just going to flick through it briefly and tell you some of the stuff. So I've opened it up and it's like wrapping a parcel in brown paper and string, proper old sort of things that no one really would know. Skimming stones, learning about lunar and solar eclipses, naval flag codes. It's just all the really cool stuff, especially that boys need to know, because boys need this sort of stuff. They need to be muddy, they need to be running around in the woods, they need to be learning cool things and collecting ants and just doing boy stuff. So this book essentially is your guide to how to do that. So if you are a female and you have boys, get this so you can engage with them. If you are a dad and you've got boys, do it. But even if you've got girls, get this book, because there's going to be some great stuff in this book that's applicable to anyone. So yeah, check that one out, and that I'd say for your children is a must. I use it all the time with my boys, and they love reading it as well. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the money and finance stroke career and life purpose section of my reading, because those two are quite similar in terms of books. So I've got 4. I'll try and go through them as quick as possible, but they're all key books at the moment. Now I'll start with this one. It's a 2008 book called A Whole New Mind, and it was written by a guy called Daniel Pink. Now I think that he was a real sort of ahead of the game guy, because he identified in 2008 that basically the world was going to develop to the point that it has done now, where everything's on social media, everything's getting outsourced to India or China, and so if you want to stay ahead of the game in the West, then you need to start thinking with your right brain. So what he's talking about is, in the past, left brain thinkers were the gods, the champions, and these are like the coders, the accountants, anything that's analytical and process driven. And so as far as anything was concerned, everyone was to go through college and be good at that sort of stuff, and that's how you're going to make your fortune. However, we've now got to a point where all of that stuff can be outsourced to India, and it can be done there just as good, cheaper and quicker. So there's no real reason for it to be done over in the West, the UK, Australia, United States, etc. And so if we want to stay ahead of the game now, we need to start using right brain thinking. And what this is talking about is engaging your creativity, engaging your narrative, engaging your empathy. Give you an example, a real-time example. I've just had a conversation with a potential partner a minute ago. They've got a courier firm, and they're just creating a website so that they can start engaging with both businesses and also potential employees. And I just recommended that they put an About Me page on there, which talks about why they are, aiming to become the best courier business in the UK. What is it that makes them get out of bed every single day and, strive towards creating the best courier business in the UK? And that's the narrative. That's what people want to engage with, because they want to read that this guy, he's been through some hard times in his life, and he's been able to apply it into creating the best courier business. He's got real empathy, which allows him to, work with his team better than the competition. And so that's the type of stuff that we're talking about. They want to come on a journey with you. And so when you're setting up your business, you certainly should be reading this book just to realise the type of stuff that we need to be doing now. It talks about design. That's why iPhone is just smashing it with its technology, because there's other competition out there, Hewlett-Packard, Samsung, etc., who've got just as much capability technically, but they don't have that design passion. And so that's why Apple is always sort of, ahead of the game when it comes to that sort of product sales. It talks about empathy, it talks about the way that we need to be more creative, and it talks about symphony, so that everything ties in together. You don't want disparate elements of your business all just operating in isolation. You want it all to be working like an orchestra, beautifully sort of synthesized. And so this is, as I say, 9 years old now, but really, really sort of hit the nail on the head. So if you've not read it, it's well worth looking at, especially if you are currently looking at setting up a business. So that's that one. And then when you've decided that you want to set up your business, Key Person of Influence. I've read this book and I do refer back to it a lot. It basically gives you a 5-step method of how you can become, within 18 months, a key person of influence within the industry, and whether that's like as the top online hair webcaster, or it could be that you are wanting to be the top lead generator, whatever it is. This method here by a guy called Daniel Priestley will tell you how to achieve that, and it talks about what you want to do is pitch, so create the perfect pitch, and then basically moves through that. And so it talks about how you want to write this pitch so it's just going to engage immediately with the people that you're trying to talk about, and it needs to be something that's quick, sharp, snappy, nothing that's actually going to lose the attention of the people already. And so then once it's done that, you want to be talking about publishing. So writing a book, getting blog posts out there, getting your thoughts out onto paper or in a podcast or in videos, and then you want to create a product so you can capture the audience, and then you can start selling a product to them. Then once you're selling your product, you want to bump your profile up, and then once you bump your profile up, you're going to start being able to partner, and you're going to be able to pick and choose who you partner with. And so this is a really, really, really good book when it comes to setting up your own business. I'd suggest strongly that you read that. Right, next one is by a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk. He is a bit of a sort of legend when it comes to social media marketing. His book Crush It is talking about how you want to follow your passion and turn it into a business. And this again was written a few years ago, so some of the links in it are a bit out of date, but you know, certainly the concepts are still there. It's again well worth reading, especially if you want to be engaging with your audience online. So his background was he worked in a wine store in New Jersey. He then set up a YouTube channel called Wine Library TV, I think. Basically, he was discussing different wines that he had on. What he was doing was he was trying to bring the wines to the masses. So rather than it being this sort of snooty, oh, this smells like bouquet of roses, he said actually it smells like leather or whatever it is, so that people could really connect with it. So he did that right at the point that YouTube started to become a phenomenon, and so he was able to build on that, and now he's got a media business which focuses on basically all his public appearances, social media marketing, the books that he produces, etc. But the tips that he's got in it, because he's authentic, he's been there, he's made absolutely tons of cash, so he knows exactly what he's talking about. Again, it's really good to sort of dip in and out of. I do that, so I'll read it, I'll leave it, and then I'll come back to it and I'll be like, oh, okay. So again, something really good to get into. And then the final book that we're going to talk about. Now this, again, he's a big sort of podcaster over in America. He's called Tim Ferriss. This is The Tools of the Titans, and basically he's done 200 podcasts, and they've all been with top athletes, top special forces operators, top business people, whatever it is, people that are at the top of the game. And he tends to he tends to analyse them, to try and identify what it is that makes them tick, what it is that makes them perform so well. And then he tries to apply those things to himself. So he's quite a human guinea pig in that sense. It's not really the sort of style that I would go down, because when he's talking about it, it's like 25 grams of flaxseed followed by 4 of these crazy pills that I've never even heard of, and it just seems so complicated. But a lot of the stuff that's in there that he talks about with the various top performers is relevant, so you can dip into it and you can be reading about what Jamie Foxx likes doing, which makes him his fitness routine, or what makes him motivated in the morning. Talks to all of these people. A lot of them are American, but still it's very relevant to us as we're trying to understand, in the exact same way that you'd read Bill Slim's book, trying to understand what it is that these people that have achieved high achievements do in order to make them that great. So all of these books are available off Amazon, clearly, and so I'd suggest that if any of them sort of piqued your interest, then you should look at buying them. You can get it on your Kindle, or you can actually buy the hard copy. I prefer the hard copies because you can thumb them and you can see these are all pretty well read. I'll read them wherever I can, really, and it's just about continuing to educate yourself, continuing to sort of have this thirst for knowledge, because the moment that you stop learning, you become stagnant. And so if you're not reading, try to. Now clearly if you can't read, or you struggle with that attention thing, try and do similar stuff by listening to podcasts or catching YouTube videos on these people, and so just continuing to grow our own knowledge base. Now clearly I'm doing a lot of reading on our behalf, so I can disseminate a lot of the teachings over to you throughout my videos. If there's any books that you'd like me to read, any recommendations, then please get in touch on the social media page, Nomad Adventure Therapy, and also just continue to grow this community with me. Like and share the videos, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll just keep growing it. Also